Hello and welcome to the Brunton Report. Today we are north of the border in Scotland. We're visiting Saica Pack's brand new facility here in Livingston. Hi Brian, how are you? Nice to see you. We are here in Livingston. We are about 10 minutes west of Edinburgh. Joined today by Brian Lister. Brian, great to see you. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you for coming.
Saica, for those in the audience who maybe don't know the company, obviously a big Spanish multinational. Tell us a little bit about the group.
Yeah, sure. It's a proud heritage. Started in 1943. It's now into its third generation, has grown from a business that was a single operation in Zaragoza in the north of Spain to having 106 factories across the globe now. I think it's present in 11 countries, employing 10,000 people. Aggregate turnover, I think, is over 4 billion euros. You know, it's a huge success.
So 2022 was quite a pivotal year for the business. I mean, if we look at there was a brand new facility opened in Ohio, and obviously the combination of this project that we're at today, Livingston. Really important year for the corrugated packaging division. We'll focus on corrugated in a minute, but tell us a little bit about some of the other activities that Saica undertake.
Sure. So Saica has 4 main business units at a group level. We have Saica Paper, which I think everybody will know. We have Saica Nature, who will operate to feed raw material and work in zero waste environment. And we have Saica Pack, who will use Saica Paper as well as other papers in the marketplace to provide corrugated. Then also we have Saica Flex, which is a business that we acquired, which is a flexible packaging business based throughout Europe. So those are the 4 main business units of Saica.
Let's bring the focus onto corrugated, Brian. Within the UK, tell us a little bit about the setup, multiple sites here.
Yeah, so we've got now 9 sites across UK and Ireland. Saica came to the UK back in 2006, which is a scarily long time ago, by acquiring 3 sites from IPC. And then in 2008 by acquiring a number of sites from SCA. And really since that time has set about strategically investing and developing those businesses. There's been a massive amount of change in that business, certainly in the time I've been here since 2012. And the businesses really now are unrecognisable compared to what we took on at the time.
And for Saica, investment is obviously critical to the ongoing success of the business. Tell us a little bit about some of the recent activities in the UK where you've consolidated sites, you've invested. So tell us generally what's been happening. Yeah,
this is a short interview and this could be a long story, so I'll try and give you the highlights. But Saica, and I know we'll talk about sustainability today, but part of sustainability is about being fit for purpose. And Saica believes that you need to invest in order to develop what you're doing for the market. And in the end, you know, the customer's the guy with the checkbook, and if you don't do what they want, you haven't got a market. So investing in a continuous and long-term way along paths that will see us here for the long term. To give you some highlights, we spent a significant amount of money in the northwest of England. Our Wigan facility now is an investment of over 20 million. Now is a state-of-the-art corrugated plant which is capable of really, you know, competing with both in terms of cost base but also in terms of capability anything that's in that part of the country, and you know that's a very big part of the market. We have businesses in Newport where, again, significant investment down there has given us a really flexible, really good added value business, very good printers, very flexible. We have, I mean, I don't really want to take you through them all, but I can if you want. We have good stories to tell across the UK and Ireland, and I think we've set the business up extremely well for the coming years.
Let's come north of the border, Scotland. We're here in Livingston. 50+ million pounds invested over the course of 2 and a bit years.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about the project. Where did it start? What was the background to it? Because you had 2 facilities here already. I think probably getting towards end of life. So tell us a little bit about that project and how it all went through.
Yeah, certainly. So the business in Scotland prior to Livingston, exactly what you say, 2 sites, one in Edinburgh, in Corstorphine, and one up in Mulgai. Both historically extremely good sites, servicing the Scottish market exceptionally well. But we did realise that they were getting towards end of life. The business in Edinburgh had been there since 1934. Yeah. The business in Mulgai had been there since the mid-50s, and we have to move on. So Saica had the ambition and the how can I say it, the long-term vision to be prepared to take that step. Now, in taking that step, it's disrupted what was a very good business because you have to turn it upside down and put it back together again.
Of course.
The difference being what we have now is set for the next 40 or 50 years, and that wasn't the case before. And I think Saica, we had the view that for the customer base in Scotland, it's really important that we have state-of-the-art manufacturing capability in Scotland. And now in this Livingston facility, we certainly have that.
The slogan, made in Scotland. Let's talk a little bit about the typical customer base. Emphasis on drink and food rather than food and drink. Tell us a little bit about the customer base that you would typically service from Livingston now.
So we would, exactly as you've described there, I think drink and food is a good way to describe it because the spirits industry in Scotland is huge. Yeah. Having said that, there is an awful lot of very good quality food manufacturers in Scotland as well. The whole FMCG scope is serviced up here, and we have equipment in this facility that's capable of meeting the needs of those customers of that marketplace. So that would be the core, and then we would move into packaging, e-commerce. In terms of mainline corrugated production, if you need it, we've got a range of kit here that can deliver it.
When you were speccing the project, obviously you had those 2 facilities, so I'm sure there was a period where it was transitioning down and then building up in the new facility. Tell us about that process.
Sure.
Probably ran over the course of 8 or 10 months, I would have thought.
Yeah, we had some opportunities to prove our quality through the build period. Yeah. I think a pandemic was thrown into the middle of it, and somebody in Russia decided to invade Ukraine, which got quite interesting. But I think the point that we pushed very hard was that customer service was going to be key. Yeah. So we had 2 facilities already in existence. We decided not to do a hard stop, but what we did was as this plant started to come online, then we started to reduce the production in the other factories, and we shared an awful lot of the production that would normally be in Scotland into the other Saica plants across the UK and Ireland. And the aim of that was to make sure that the customer's experience, any disruption was minimised.
Yeah. When you were looking at the project right at the beginning, obviously choice of equipment, solutions, layouts were always going to be critical to the success of this facility. You mentioned it earlier, during the dreaded COVID, where lead times went out the window and machinery companies were speccing 18 months in advance. How did you build the relationships with your chosen suppliers in the end? And what were some of those driving forces that helped you end up with Fosber, BOBST, Avanti, BCM, etc.?
Well, we 2 aspects to it from my perspective. One is that we are a European major manufacturer in the industry, and therefore we have contacts with all of the major suppliers. And we have a degree of scale that helps us to have meaningful discussions with those suppliers. But the other part for Saica is that we also believe in the local ownership of the business. Yeah. So when you're going in to talk to a supplier, you're doing that in a combination of an aligned approach from the corporate and from the local. Yeah. So when we started to talk to the various supply options, we were constantly looking at what are we doing in terms of the sustainability of this. where are we going from a cost effectiveness point of view, what's happening with the lead time, how much is the supplier listening to us, and what our customers' needs are to make sure that we can hardwire these into the design of the facility here. And it was through a process of selection that all of those things came together to give us the partners that we ended up choosing.
Sustainability, you mentioned that word very clearly just then. We're not talking sustainability of the product, because we know corrugated board is the ultimate in terms of sustainable packaging solution. When we talk about sustainability for Saica at factory level, we're talking about energy usage, we're talking about automation, we're talking about waste reduction. That obviously was right at the fore when you were speccing some of the systems. Talk to us about the automation. Because obviously automation is a very critical component of a modern state-of-the-art facility.
Yeah, we've really taken this on a level, and I think we've spoken previously that there were a raft of new factory builds, but now that's almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And having been in the box business for more years than I like to count, I saw that transition. And I remember seeing those plants come online, and at the time thinking, wow, this has really moved forward. Now, in this facility, you can see that same evolution because technology has moved on so much. Automated materials handling is something of normal in most businesses now, but not with a 3D whip.
No.
So when you bring those two things together, you bring a degree of flexibility and control in the business that really with a 2D solution you struggle to achieve. And that allows us to look to optimize our equipment both upstream and the corrugator, downstream and conversion, and that then allows the efficiencies, etc., to flow and the resilience for our customers.
And let's just try and explain to some of the audience. We talk about a 2D materials handling system and a 3D. You have chosen the first of its type in the UK, a high bay dark storage area. Tell us about that process, because obviously Duro Felguera, Spanish organisation, I'm sure there was good communications with the parent company. Tell us about that process and why you chose high bay whip.
So we have other facilities that have high bay whip in there, not in the UK and Ireland, but we do across the globe. We could see the advantages of it, and we can see how that can bring us, from a customer perspective, a degree of flexibility you just can't get with 2D. So going through a selection of suppliers, DF, I've got to say, in my experience, very professional, very well organised, executed the work that they did for us extremely well. Good service arrangement, they're there for us when we need them, which thankfully is not that much, and with a good package of continuous service to make sure that equipment constantly has the attention that it needs.
So in the video, the audience will be seeing right now some of the materials handling system in process. You've also chosen something that again it's not brand new, other plants do have it, but the ability to centrally store dyes, stereos, inks, etc. Tell us about why you felt that was a solid option for you in terms of getting all of those components down to the converting lines.
Okay, so there's a number of aspects to that. Firstly, from a health and safety perspective, we don't need to take any of that tooling in and out of the machines with somebody manually pushing a trolley near transfer cars. So we can completely eliminate the need for people to be in transfer car lanes. Sadly, in our industry, there have been far too many serious incidents in that area. So that's the first thing. The second thing, as high quality post printers, very, very important that we look after the tooling and maintain it at the absolute optimum level. The storage facilities that we've got with BCM here allow us to absolutely keep that in the optimum. Thirdly, efficiency, because we can keep those next 3 jobs in front all the time, so we haven't got machine crews waiting for equipment when they need to. And then finally, traceability. We're moving equipment in and out all the time. We know exactly where it is, we know what condition it's in. If we do have an issue, we can deal with it on the way back rather than the way out, again, to maintain that customer service.
And there's another fascinating aspect of this setup here in Livingston. Not many people are overly interested in the finished goods storage and distribution into the trucks, but you've also looked at that very, very closely. Health and safety always at the fore. Tell us about the setup there.
Sure, so we would be very focused on the major health and safety risks in the business. Workplace transport, sadly, is one of those. So again, hierarchy of health and safety needs. First thing to do is to remove the risk if you possibly can. So we have a facility here at Livingston in the loading bays that we will segregate the driver from the forklift truck driver. And we have a facility where once the driver's in, has reversed in, got his load, pulled his curtains, he then comes out and shuts the door. As he shuts the door, the gate at the back will open so the truck is allowed in. When he needs to go back in again, the gate at the back will close and the truck and the driver are not in the loading bay at the same time.
People. Some of your team will obviously have transferred from the two original sites. I think it's fair to say that you're not immune to the issues of labour shortage and skill sets. A big focus of this investment has always been on the automation, state-of-the-art equipment. Do you feel that that makes it an attractive proposition to locals to come and work for you?
Yes, I think it's very important now to consider that we are in a labour market and the only way that we will attract people to work here is if we are the employer of choice. The conditions that people work in here are excellent. Factory's warm, factory's clean, factory's dry. There's a level of automation in here that means the lumping and shifting is absolutely minimised, which helps people. We're very aware of the facilities and the conditions, so we will offer subsidised canteen, etc., so that people can feel that they've got somewhere they can get hot food. They're not sat in a bay somewhere. And I think more importantly, the culture of the business, where you will see, and when you're out in the business, I'm sure you'll see this, you will see people talking to each other. And really it's very much an open door culture where if somebody's got something to say, they say it, and people will talk to each other all of the time. And again, a big part of, I think, being in a workplace that you feel comfortable with is to feel that you're amongst a group of people who are working with you. So I think all of those things have been very much front of mind.
And when you look at the specification and the way that you've developed this site, there's been an awful lot of nice value-added installations in terms of you had the HVAC system. So you're always thinking about the environment within the facility. High on the agenda for Saica?
Absolutely, yes. So we've got 50 plus box plants across the globe. So in terms of our understanding of a box plant, it's pretty good, okay? So marry that with a need for an absolute maximisation of the environmental opportunity, if that's the right phrase, minimise the environmental footprint. That was key to the thought process. You mentioned HVAC. I think our original specification for the heating system here, the amount of gas heaters we were going to need versus what we were able to do with the HVAC system, we're at a third of what those would have been. And what we're doing is we're using the air that's coming through the machines, cleaning it and bringing it back in order to warm the facility and keep it at a temperature which is acceptable for the people in it.
Let's finish with customers. How have they reacted?
I think the customers understand that what we're trying to do here is for the long term. Okay? It would have been easy for us to have done nothing and we had a business that would run like a Swiss watch. Nothing changes. In the conversion into this facility, obviously you have to change things, and that's meant that customers have had to come on a journey with us, and they have done that. And I think what customers in Scotland understand is that if you're going to have a business producing corrugated here for the next 50 years, you've got to get to that point somehow, and we have now done that. So I think the customers are now delighted that we've done it. The feedback that we've had from those customers who've been here is, well, by far and away, this is the best sales tool that we've got in Saica Pack UK and Ireland. When they come in, they're amazed by what we've been able to achieve. And now for us, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So it's about good service, it's about quality product, it's about flexibility, it's about giving the customers what they need.
State-of-the-art facility on show, one of the best in the UK, if not Europe, if not the world. Brian Lister, thank you so much indeed for having us.
Thank you for coming, Dan. It's been a pleasure.